This is Vanessa Gorman. Now that you have nouns and verbs, we can start making dependency trees. So this lesson is designed to get you set up and started in using the program called Arethusa. I've got a handout that has all the links you're going to need in order to do this. So you should have that handout open right now. And the first bit of advice is to use Chrome as your web browser because it has the fewest glitches. So open up your Chrome and then go to the Alpheios website. So you should have this page facing you, alpheios.org. Alpheios is a web extension that takes almost no time at all in order to install, and it will be a lifesaver in this course. The whole course is based on it. So go in and explore this site, explore our tools and the mobile reader, and the tutorials are fantastic here. So go into the tutorials and watch some of these, how to get started in Chrome. You can use Firefox if you want to, or Safari. You can even use the mobile reader on your phone. And watch these tutorials. And then you need to go down and install this browser on your phone, or not a browser, an extension on your browser. And when you've done that, you will have a little button like you see up on the top right of my screen that is Alpheios that I can now turn on or turn off. So that's the first thing to get straight, is get that installed. Another thing that you might want to do at some point is install a different Greek keyboard. You want to enable your keyboard on your computer, enable the Greek keyboard, which comes with the computer. I don't happen to like the one that comes there, so I've bought one. There's a place called Linguist Software that has all kinds of fonts, and I like their Laser Greek for Unicode. And you're buying a font, and it costs $100, but you can get any of these. They all are different fonts for the same thing. So Symbol Greek looks like that, whereas Odysseia is more uh, swirly, and Teubner leans a little bit and all that. So I think I have, and the Graika is very leaning over. I'm pretty sure I have either the Graika or probably the Symbol Greek that I use. I like them because they have a great keyboard switcher that I really like, but that's up to you. You don't even, there's plenty of free keyboard switchers online, and you can use the one embedded, work into Windows and Apple. So once you've got that sorted out, the next thing you want to do is go to the Perseids project, and you get to the Perseids project at perseids.org. This is a child of Perseids, and on the Perseids project, you're going to need to set up an account. So you'll go to the Perseids platform here where it says read more, and then you can see a lot of the information. Poke around. I do encourage you to poke around. But meanwhile, create an account or log in. And so if you go here, I've already got accounts. So it will let me log in, but you can have any kind of Google, Twitter, Yahoo, or AOL account, and you can log in here. So if you don't have one of these, make it. I just make a bunch of Google accounts, and I've actually got 3 different logins. So if I go in here in my account for this class, you're going to see a page like this. I've got a bunch of files already uploaded. You don't yet, but you'll start adding to these files. Once you get in here, you'll see that there's various things you can do, including text alignments, which I haven't messed around with much, but a lot of people do. I only use the treebank annotation. So if you go to the top of the page and click on New Treebank Annotation, you're going to see a page that looks like this. And there's different ways you can convert Greek text into trees, XML code ready to be treed. There's 4 ways on this page alone. So one thing is you can enter a text URI, and you can get that URI off of Perseids. It's a little bit cumbersome and you have to mess with it a bit, so I try not to use that if I can help it. You can choose a file. So if you have a tree bank file of sentences that are already treed, you can upload that file. So for example, you could go to my dependency tree bank folder in GitHub, and you can see I've already made trees of all these different authors, and you could go in here, and if you know how to use GitHub, you can get the file. If you don't know how to use GitHub, you can simply open the file and cut and paste the whole thing. So if you got to make sure you only cut and paste it within the box, of course, but I can cut and paste from here, and then I could go back and make that into an XML file and upload it, but it needs to be an XML file if you're going to upload it. A third way you can get text is the search for text. There's a bunch of available works in what's called the Kapitans environment. And if you look over here on ancient Greek, you can see there's a lot of mostly strange authors, but a few regular ones. There's Aristotle, Demosthenes. So you can go through here and find, for example, Xenophon. And here's all the works that are available in Xenophon, so you can see which ones you want to download. We're looking at the Hellenica. This will just open it up if you go here, and there's the text for you. That just tells you what's available. So if you go back here and then just say, start typing, Xenophon, you can see all your choices. So you can say Xenophon, Hellenica, and then it's going to download the whole thing, which is far more than you want. Trust me on this. So I'm going to say book 1, chapter 1 through book 1, chapter 5. That's plenty for the moment. And then you just say retrieve the passage, and the passage pops up in this box. Now you have to go over to the edit. The language is Greek, left to right is fine. Hit the edit button. Give it if it's a big file, it may take a little while. Generally, it doesn't take too long if you've got a decent connection. And it's going to load, and once it's loaded, here you have the first 5 chapters of Xenophon's Hellenica, book 1, divided by sentence. If you go, this is how it will open up. If you go to the end here, there's 222 sentences in the first 5 chapters of book 1. So that's a lot. For the moment, let's just get out of here. So I'm going to go to the far right here, the exit arrow, and it's going to say changes may not be saved. Let's leave anyway for the moment because you don't know what changes there are. Now, if you go to your home page, you'll see you've got a tree bank of pseudo Hellenica, Perseids, GRC 2 1.1 through 1.5. You can rename this. First, click on it, and you see the list of sentences. You can change the title, and I usually change this to Xenophon Hellenica 1.1 through 1.5. I'm going to call this a backup because I have different versions of it around. So I can just change that. Now the tree is labeled something that's recognizable for you. So that's one way to upload data. You can go back home now, and you could upload data in a different way. You can make a new tree bank annotation. So you come back to the same page, only this time you can cut and paste Greek sentences into the box. And I've given you some practice sentences in the handout for this video. So I'm going to just cut and paste them into the box. So there they are, just a bunch of Greek sentences. And again, I say edit and give it a second. It doesn't take long because there's only a handful of them. And now if we go out of here, you'll see we have sort of a gibberish title. It just assigns it something. And there's only 11 sentences here. I'm going to change the title because I like to keep these things straight. Practice nouns, update it. So here we have these sentences. So now we've already made 2 tree banks, and you'll see 2 different tree banks in your folder here. If you want to delete one of these and get rid of it, you just you click on the title and then click on Overview, and you can delete it. If you do that, it's gone forever. So if you've made any changes, you will lose them. So just warning you that. So now let's go in the file and see how to make the trees. So first thing you get is a sentence list, and it comes up in 50s, and you can go back and forth. So I can click on an individual sentence and open up just that sentence. You can use the arrows up here to move forward or backwards, or move all the way to the front or all the way to the end. Or you can type in a sentence number here and go to that sentence. Now, before you do anything else, you want to do a couple of settings. So, first thing you want to do is import some preferences. So go to a new page and look at the directions I give you, and I give you a link to morph tables. So go into that link and you should see this now. And I also give you a link to a couple of files. And what you want to do is import forms from file and then import frequency data from files. So you use the forms file, and it's a JSON file. Go in here and it will find your file and you import it. And likewise the frequency, because these are going to help you, and I'll show you how in just a minute. So then go back into your Alpheios file and refresh it just to make sure you've got everything together. You may have to close the browser and open it again to make it work. But we're going to go back in here and I want you to look around. So first thing to look at is the little settings button in the top right. So if you turn the settings button on, you should make sure you click the same things I have clicked here. You should have save preferences. You may or may not want the disabled keyboard. If you have a separate keyboard that you really like, then disable the keyboard like I do. But if you don't have a separate keyboard, use theirs, and so that should not be checked off. The rest of this should come standard, colorized by morph. Then click on plugin tools, plugin settings, and make sure you have these plugins checked. You want advanced mode, you want activate default insert point, you want store preferences, you want pre-select, and you want local storage. So local storage and store preferences means that every time you add a form, or if you mark a form, then it keeps track of your statistics. What you imported were my forms and morphologies. So, for example, proper names don't show up, but I've added them. And so I've given you the data so that now you don't have to add them separately. Likewise, if I look at the same form over and over and it has many choices, but only one or two show up most often, that form will rise to the top, and that's going to be important for you. So make sure everything looks like this except the disable keyboard, and then click your settings button again. Click on the question mark button, and you're going to see there are some shortcut keys that you can look up here anytime you need to look up the shortcut keys. There are color legends that are incredibly useful for what part of speech they color in. The rest of this tools, no, that's just to export or import your data. So the rest of this is fine. We'll close that. So here's how a sentence comes up in Alpheios, or sorry, Arethusa. If you have Alpheios turned on, that's a useful thing to do right now, because that means if I click on this word, you notice in the right-hand column, I've got 4 boxes. If you click on the settings box here, there's actually 6 boxes. I've turned off history and comments because I never use them, and I would recommend you do the same. You just click on them and it turns them off. So that way, the only ones I see are these 4. And for now, we're just going to look at the first 2. So morphology tells you what are the possible forms of this noun or this word. Now, we have two of the exact same thing. One comes from the document and one comes from the analyzer called Morpheus. So it doesn't matter which one you pick, except this one, notice, is plural and this one is singular. So which is it? You see the tous, you know it's got to be plural, so therefore this is the one that you need to check. If it were singular, you would simply check that box. So we know that that form has to be plural. This is something called the part of speech code. So it tells you it's a noun, plural, masculine, accusative, noun, singular, masculine, nominative. So we have several choices, and the plural masculine accusative is the winner, and we know that from the article sitting right next to it. Now notice the different color coding. Verbs are red, adjectives are blue, nouns are this whatever color you want to call that, and articles are light blue. So here's an article, plural masculine accusative. It can also be a pronoun, but we haven't gotten there yet. So you have the sentence, you have it color-coded, and it tells you the possible forms. Hippocrates is a noun, and it could be many things. It could even be the form of a verb. But most of the time when it shows up in this form, it shows up as the masculine nominative singular of the name Hippocrates. And I've marked it that way often enough so that this, when you imported my data, you imported my frequency data, and it brings the one that I've marked the most often to the top, which saves you scrolling down through lists trying to find the correct one. So we have all of these settings. Let me point out that you click on a word to select it or to unselect it. If you have a word selected and you hit the W button, it tabs you through the words so you can check them in the right-hand column. If you go E, the E goes backwards, and it will go through the period as a punctuation is separate. Punctuation hangs itself, and final punctuation is aux K, commas are aux X, and they'll come self-identified and self-hung. We just ignore them because they've been added by editors. Let me point out the red button here means you haven't saved it yet, and you always want to save it frequently. Every time you make a change, it saves the changes that way. We've already seen how, if I move this down, the button on the right takes you out of this file into the sentence list again, and you can come back in wherever you want. Language is obvious. Let me also point out that since you have activated the Arethusa, if you want to know what this word means, double click on it. I haven't logged in, but that's fine, and you see it means soldier. So you've got the Arethusa data as well as the ability now to make the tree. So you can get into the big dictionary, you can figure out what it means all in one place. All right, so let's talk about how you make a tree. Well, the basic principle of the tree is everything hangs on the main verb of the sentence. And I can glance at this and know that the only verb here is ex agage. And if you look here, it's from ago with the preposition ex stuck on the front of it, meaning out of. If I double click on it, I know that it means to lead out. Ago means to lead, and it's the third person singular aorist indicative active, so it's a simple action. Third person singular, he led out. So we know that how to do that. That, you click on it, and then you click on the root. So it's click and click. It is not drag. You do not drag and drop. You click and click. So I now have this word hanging on the root. I have the word nil here. We've got several different things going on. This is the morphology over on the right here. This identifies the morphology of the word. But remember, we also need the syntax, which is how it relates to other words. And so the nil is the relation word. And in this case, main verbs are always predicate. So the predicate, you say predicate and nothing is selected at the moment. Okay, so let's select this, and I can say predicate, and now it says predicate here. So we're all groovy. So there's the main verb of the sentence. So now you start looking. We already saw that this was a plural masculine accusative, so it's pretty surely the direct object. And we already saw that it means soldier, so in the plural it means soldiers. As a direct object, he led out the soldiers. That makes sense. So soldiers is going to hang as the object of the predicate. So you click on that noun, go to relation, and one of the drop-down choices is object. So there's that. Now, notice it didn't fill in the box. Let's just hit apply for the moment. I'll explain that in a second. Now, the tous is the word the that modifies soldiers. So let's put that there. Now, Hippocrates, we've already seen, is the singular masculine nominative. That's the man who's leading them out. So we, again, click and click. But he is the Lacedaemonian Harmost. All these words describe Hippocrates. And so we take these words and we click on all three of them at once. And we do that by hitting Control and then click, 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 and then releasing the Control button. Now I can click on Hippocrates and they all come and hang off it at once. I can do them one at a time if I want to, but I'm into shorter keystrokes. I put them all there at once. And so Hippocrates now is the subject of the sentence. Now, if you click on here, we have one thing clicked. If I just fill in this box, we're good. It just changes the one word. However, if you look at these are all words modifying Hippocrates. We have Lacedaemonian, which is an adjective. It could actually also be a noun. We have Harmost. We have the article the. We have the article the. These are all words acting as adjectives modifying a noun. So in this case, I can go here and label it as an attribute, because that's what you label things that modify nouns, are attributes. But I don't want to click that, do that 4 times. So if, again, I click on Harmost, then I hit Control, click, click. Now I come over here and I can change all up here. So if I change this to attribute and then say apply, it changes all of them at once. So then we've got this sentence. And again, I can hit escape to unselect them. And I've saved it. And now this sentence has been treed. Now I want to do one more thing here, and I want to go back out to the sentence list. So exit to Perseids after it's been saved. If you try to leave without saving it, it will ask you if you really mean to. Then I want you to look at the edit XML here. What this gives you is the XML code, the tree banking code. The stuff on the front is all standard stuff that you leave alone. My annotator name has gotten in here because I've been messing with it. If multiple people use the same file, you'll have them annotated for each one. The later sentences we haven't done anything with yet, so they're all blank. But notice sentence 1. So we have a unique identifier for our file. We have each sentence is got a separate number, and each word within the sentence has a separate number. So this is sentence ID 1, word 2, word 3, word 4. It tells us what the form is that occurs in the sentence, so we can recreate the sentence this way. The lemma tells us what word you would look it up under in the lexicon. And then the part of speech tag I already showed you: noun, singular, masculine, nominative. L stands for article, singular, masculine, nominative. When you get down to a verb, the post tag is verb, third person singular, aorist, indicative, active. So we have all of that in the coding. Then we have the relationship word that we've used to identify the relationship between this word and its head, as it's called, or its parent. And then we'd say what that head word is. So we know now that Hippocrates comes from the word Hippocrates. It's a nominative, singular, masculine, sorry, a noun, singular, masculine, nominative. It is acting as subject, and it is dependent upon the head word 5, which is the main word ex agega. And so this is the code you'll see. Now, the later sentences don't have code on them yet because they haven't been analyzed yet. The computer will do a certain amount of pre-analyzation for you. So for example, if you look at sentence 11, I opened that up and it changed colors. That means the computer did a preliminary analysis for you, and it gave you what it thinks the analysis of the lemma and the post tag are, but they haven't been checked yet. No relationship has been put in and no head word has been put in. So again, if I go back to editing, and I've already opened this sentence, so it's already got the colors in it. But if I go to another sentence that doesn't have colors until they appear, which the computer does the preliminary morphological analysis as soon as the sentence is drawn up. And then when you click on a word, you'll see it's already got labels for it. So each of these, as I pull them up, turns colors. And that's how the computer gets you started, so that then you can decide, for example, gay is the word gay, not the goddess's name, Gaia. And so you want to make sure that's what's checked. Peloponnesians, if you'll notice, comes up as the adjective, but it's more often the noun, so the noun has come to the top. Sometimes you will see words that, especially, for example, this, which means a prisoner, and it comes in as just an adjective, but many of these adjectives are used so often as a noun that they're more often nouns than adjectives, and I make them nouns because I think there's a very gray line between the two. And so I have made it, and this is why you're saying you. I've done this, and it's been imported by you into your document. So that's the basics of how to make a tree in Greek. I'm now going to go through a few sentences to give you some examples in the next video.